evening. Welcome to this week's segment of I Told You First. I'm Morgan Wendlandt.
And I'm Howell.
And tonight we will be discussing the German refugee crisis. Is this influx of refugees into Germany a positive or negative occurrence, according to CNN and the local DA?
And how have these specific standpoints by both news sources changed over time? We will analyze the media's portrayal of the refugee crisis, specifically in Germany, through the agenda-setting theory and the media dependency theory.
With the Arab Spring underway in 2011, the people of Syria started asking for basic reforms of their own. And that simple demand led to Bashar Assad's brutal crackdown. And within months, Syria had gone from street demos to civil war. More than 200,000 dead so far, and half its population of about 20 million on the move around Syria and outside the country.
Although the video mainly focused on Syria, refugees are coming from all over the Middle East and Africa. The main goal of these refugees is to seek asylum in Germany if that is their final destination. According to the UN Refugee Agency, when people flee their own country and seek sanctuary in another country, they apply for asylum, the right to be recognized as a refugee and receive legal protection and material assistance. An asylum seeker must demonstrate that it is his or her fear of persecution in his or her home country is well-founded. So Morgan, why is asylum so important?
Well, Kayla, I'm glad you asked. Because asylum is important for these refugees, because if the asylum application is accepted, persons granted asylum status and those granted refugee status receive a temporary residence permit, and they are given the same status as Germans within the social insurance system. They are entitled to social welfare, child benefits, child raising benefits, integration allowances, and language courses, as well as other forms of integration assistance. The biggest issue for Germans is the unknown consequences, whether they be good or bad, that this mass influx of refugees could have on their country. We will explore how these consequences have been shown through the media. What is Germany's initial reaction and how is it changing?
Okay.
The refugees have a right to be treated decent, said Ursula von der Leyen, German defense minister. In the beginning of the refugee crisis, the Germans seemed to be accepting of the refugees and even eager to help, as shown through the media. However, on September 4th, Chancellor Angela Merkel suspended European asylum rules, allowing migrants to come in by the thousands. In September alone, 200,000 refugees have come into Germany. In an article published on September 11th, the local DA cited that 59% of the German people were not scared by the mass influx of refugees.
It will be very hard to handle this. 800,000 people here. It will be very hard, but we have to do this.
Germany is rich. I think that's the reason we are rich in our heart. And the situation is good here, and I think we are ready to help.
However, German opinion quickly changed as more and more refugees poured into their country, especially after Merkel's decision to suspend asylum rules. One CNN report says, subsequently to her, Merkel, dreadful decision, the mood of the German people has severely deteriorated, and this is with greater speed and with more resolve and unity than any other crisis or major national issue before this. To further explain what we're trying to get across about these two theories, and specifically the crisis in Germany, we've developed a few research questions to further guide our explanation. How has CNN and the local DA, through their selection of stories and headlines, told their readers what to think about the refugee crisis? Secondly, how has CNN and the local DA affected the formation of opinions and attitudes of their readers? Lastly, how has CNN and the local DA framed the refugee crisis?
The agenda-setting theory says that media content sets the agenda for public discussion. People tend to talk about what they hear through the media. Media, through the selection of stories and headlines, tell the people what to think about, although not necessarily what to think. How has CNN and the local DA, through their selections of stories and headlines, told their readers what to think about regarding the refugee crisis? audiences are looking to news professionals on where to focus their attention. From the end of August through early October, the local DA posted articles about the refugee crisis that focused on issues such as core ideals of the EU, violent protests, and the integration of refugees. They were setting the agenda for the public and telling them through the articles they posted to not get caught up in the political protests against the refugees, but rather to focus on the good that the refugees could bring, economically and socially, to their country. After October, the local DA shifted the tone of their articles and began to focus more on the negative aspects of the refugee crisis. Articles began to say how the crisis could be the new biggest challenge the EU has ever faced, how the refugees are costing the German cities billions of dollars, how Germany is extending their border checks in order to halt refugees, and how the refugees need to learn to respect German values.
CNN has been following the refugee crisis in Germany as well. However, they have taken a slightly different approach. After reviewing multiple CNN articles that were reported between early September and early November, we found a couple carried negative messages about the refugee crisis. In contrast to the local DA, CNN did not necessarily change the tone of their articles. The change in Germany attitudes towards the refugees is undeniable, but CNN, for the most part, has skirted around the issue instead of choosing to focus on the good that the refugees could still do. CNN, who has a large global audience, has been mostly framing the refugee crisis in a positive light, and through the articles they have chosen, have set the agenda for the public to continue to view this as a potentially good thing.
While the agenda-setting theory says that the media tells the public what to think about, the media dependency theory says that the media tells the public actually what to think. Media can have a moderate or even a powerful effect on the formation of opinions and attitudes. According to Dennis L. Wilcox, the author of our textbook Public Relations, mass media effects also are increased when people cannot verify information through personal experience or knowledge, but are highly dependent on the media for that verification. This tendency is particularly evident in crisis situations. There is an internal link between media, the audience, and a larger social system.
Throughout the refugee crisis, the people have been dependent on news to tell them what is going on, both globally and locally. The articles that the local DA and CNN have posted have a profound effect on public opinion. Most people would have no access to information on the German refugee crisis other than what they are getting from the media. The media has been setting the agenda by carefully choosing which articles to post, but they have also been shaping the opinions and beliefs of the public.
People become more interested in the news when there is a crisis. Based on the agenda-setting theory that says the media tells the people what to think about, the media has been telling people to think of this influx of refugees as a crisis. Both the local DA and CNN have used the word crisis over and over again in their articles, which initiates a sense of urgency and fear in the public. Because of the media saying this, it leads to the media dependency theory, which says that during a crisis, the public will become even more dependent on the media. As long as the local DA and CNN considers the incoming refugees into Germany to be a crisis, it will continue to be in the center of the news.
The media creates a demand in the public for news, which in turn creates a demand for more news. By analyzing these two theories, we have come to the conclusion that the media chooses what articles to post and what stories to cover in order to create a demand for more news. The content that they choose to cover first tells us what to think about, and second, seeks to influence the public's opinions about the issue at hand. This is still an ongoing crisis, so how can CNN and the local DA choose to handle the information, and how will they continue to impact the public's opinion?
Tune in to our next segment of We Told You First in order to find out what happens next. Thank you and good night.
Signing off.